Welcome everybody to Catfish Weekly, along with Josh and Chad. And Josh, you can go ahead and time Chad out. He's eating bacon.
I know, right?
I thought we decided we wasn't going to do the food thing, but here he is.
I knew it was going to get there at some point, so I went ahead and brought my bacon with me. I'll just put it right back here so you can
You're reeling him
the
up.
whole show.
He's reeling you in. I don't have any tournament results or anything tonight, Chad. I think that you said that you didn't either, so
I did not.
you didn't say that, or you did not receive any.
I did not receive anybody.
Now, how about we go ahead and welcome everybody into chat?
All right, welcome everybody into chat. We've got Cindy Stokes leading us off. We've got Pontoon Jody Guerrero Bagre, Joe Buck 66, Catfish Weekly, and I do want to point out that he said, just to let everybody know, Chad is my favorite son. We got Mark Barnum, 922 Crappie Barbecue. Member Riggin for Fatties. Member Catfishing Crappie. Oh, yeah, the weekend angler was in here, but he was timed out for some reason because he was saying bad stuff.
While you're talking about that, but before you go any further, and I forget to do it, Riggin for Flatties is a new channel, and we got a really nice thing from them, an email today. And if you haven't checked out their channel, it'd be a good time after our show to go over and check him out. He's got some pretty quality content for somebody that just started, and you will enjoy watching his stuff. Okay, Chad.
Right. I gave him a sub too, but I think he sent that email thinking that he was talking to me, but I got the message anyway. So thank you, Riggin for Fatties.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Thank you, Riggin for Flatties, but you know, we got to put up with Chad. So
we got Bugman 22, Dale Hayslip, member Uptown Chrissy Brown, member Brian B Catfishing, Dale Hayslip, Parker Pursuits, Goober Time Guide Service, JM Fishing, a newer one for me, Stonefly 71, Chucky, Fishing the Mid-South, The Bullock Experience, Fin Seeker TV, what's up, Jeremy, Chad Thomason, Field to Water, that's a great channel you guys should check out too, Nebraska Wildcats, Nubby's Catfishing, member Danny Stone Outdoors, member Get Hooked on D Fishing. You'll be okay. She's tournament results. I didn't get to go fishing this weekend because of a tournament. Guess what? She's not going to get to go next weekend either because of a tournament.
Well,
you guys aren't fishing the couples tournament this year?
We are not. My boat right now is torn apart.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Michael Fox, good evening.
You can Brian B it from the bank.
Or Lyle
It's hard to host it and do that from anywhere. Plus, I would catch fish unlike Brian B.
Oh.
Catfish Stalker, outdoors with Captain Greg Oilala. I cannot ever pronounce his last name. Small Water Charters. Greg, you can always give me a call, man. Tell me how you pronounce it. I'll probably still screw it up. And ladies and gentlemen, I am to the bottom.
To the bottom there.
How about that? Brian B says, Josh, I can't believe you said that. Well, believe
I said was to Brian B it from the bank.
Believe Brian.
You're staying 3. And I seen LG Bass is in here.
Hey,
I'm
Tom.
sure Michelle's around somewhere. If anybody sees Michelle in chat, make sure you wish her a happy birthday.
Absolutely. And it's Avid's birthday.
Make sure you wish Avid a happy birthday. There's Bumpin' Mike Greenwell and Irvin the Paid Tourist.
922. Did you say hello to your brother Mark?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I thought maybe skipped him on purpose.
I would never do that.
Oh. Boys, but before we get started with the show, and I know you guys have got question things set up or something. Um, this is show number 497. Is that right?
That sounds right.
I don't know.
Now that's regular Monday night shows. They originally started out on Sunday nights, and it was just so hard with fishing tournaments to get in off of 2-day tournaments, especially, and some of them was 1-day tournaments, and if we wasn't fishing, we was running them, and it was just so hard to do that. You come in, you was just wore out and whooped and beat down, and we decided to move it to Monday nights. But in those days, there was only us; nobody else done shows because it was too hard to do, and they didn't want to go through all the stuff that we had to go through to set them up. And I completely understand it. But it's got a lot easier, a lot better. Now you can watch catfishing stuff every night of the week, which is a wonderful thing. I think I always think that it's a great thing. But the 500 show, and it's 600 and some. Quit doing that.
I don't know what just happened with my camera there.
Yeah,
600 all together, where we done live shows at different events and stuff like that. But number 500 is coming up, and I'll talk with you guys a little bit more after the show about this. But I think we should do something special for the 500 show, especially if we can get a big crowd in here. We make it something pretty nice. Have some giveaways and different things like that. And
I think we could definitely do that, and definitely probably look at doing a member or channel member giveaway on the 500.
we're going to do that anyhow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think that's a way for us to give back to all the people that have given their time and meant a support through the last several years of doing this, and it means a lot to me, and I know it does to you guys, and it did to all the guys that was before. Well, we can definitely do that, D.
Yeah, that needs to happen. So
I guess I'll allow it.
That's not a problem, and and we could do that kind of with anybody else that would want to do that, want to be part of that. But 500 shows on Monday nights is a lot of shows.
Yes, it is.
And I got to thank Chuck Davison and Chris and Doc and all the guys that's helped us. I don't know how you stand it, dude. No, I don't. With that off. With that air off.
I'm actually getting chilly in here. I had to turn it off.
It's not like that here. But we have some good people.
I like that one.
A long way. Good idea to do some trivia or something. That would be a great idea, but I don't have time to look up all the questions and stuff.
I think we might be able to make something happen with that, Stan. I like that.
Chad and Josh can figure that out, and if they want to do that, we can do it. And it's probably a show that's not going to be over in an hour. I have a feeling that it'll probably run on longer than an hour. And
sorry, Mark, we're taking your time slot that week. So,
well, I can't imagine him not understanding that. But I just think that Mark can jump in there with us for a little bit if he wants. But I just think that we should give a good show for that many that we've run. And Paul Ragsdale was a big part of it. Mr. Smith. J.R. Cochran, all the people that helped us along the way. We've done some amazing stuff, and up until COVID hit, we done every catfish conference, and that's not the reason we quit going there. But we done every one of them from the very first one in Jeff Jones Marine's shop up till then, till 2020. So we went all over the country doing
6 years.
Yeah, it's almost 10. This is the 10th year, the 10th season. But it's been a great thing. So, and we got some other announcements and things to make that night too. But I just thought if everybody was on board for that, we'd I think we'll give away some stuff and have some pretty good prizes. And if any of the people that are in the industry that would like to be a part of the giveaways, just contact one of the three of us, and we'll make that happen. You don't have to do anything. It's just something to help us celebrate. If you're interested in doing that, we'd be glad for you to. If not, it's not a big deal because we're going to do it anyhow.
You know, honestly, Lyle, what we could do is just have Josh walk through his yard and do boat giveaways, and we could make Christina happy and our fans happy.
Brian, I doubt it.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if. Hey, there's Dave Garcher, Lance McCoo guy, Creole catfishing. I don't see that Josh is going to go for that.
I don't think that one's going to happen, but
it's a nice try though.
Good try there, Chad. But no,
I tried, Christina.
Well, she's got her parking spot, right?
Yeah.
Or a parking spot.
A parking spot. Yeah.
There you go. It works for me. I mean, gotta have a place for the boat. Gotta have a place for the boat.
Yeah.
Mama shit. Okay.
Boys, a couple weeks ago we talked about being in what it takes to be in a tournament, right? We talked about doing an in-person tournament and fishing the online tournaments, and I personally, not anybody else that is probably listening or will give me an emoji, came up with this idea of, what about actually putting on a tournament, being a tournament director?
You're getting an emoji. I can feel it coming.
I'm doing it on purpose after one of the comment that I got in one of the chats. So, or it might have been a direct message to me. I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
I just know that just like the person, it was rather short. But yeah, so we thought we'd talk about actually putting on like in the in-person tournaments and stuff. And who better, Mr. Lyle, who's been around. He helped Moses create the very first fishing tournament.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it if done correctly. And if you don't, believe it or not, the fines that they deal out are pretty substantial. I was on the receiving end of one of those in Iowa one time because I listened to a guy that supposedly knew what he was talking about. And he said in Keokuk, Iowa, you do not need a permit to have a catfish tournament. And they let us put it on. And the day before the event was to take place, the conservation department or DNR or whatever it was rolled up to the truck where we was taking registrations for the tournament. Said, "Can I see your permit?" I said, "I was told you didn't need one." He said, "Well, I'm sorry to inform you, you do."
Ooh.
And it was either me pay a $200 fine right then and there, or they was going to let them take off, and everybody that entered was going to get a fine that would equal $200 per entry.
Ooh.
So what are you going to do? You just peel out the $200, and then they had to approve it last minute. They had to get a hold of somebody to approve it, which they already had this planned out, so they knew they was going to approve it, and they knew I was going to pay the $200. I couldn't say no. We done had everything ready to go. And so we paid it and went on and lost money on the deal, and that's how it works sometimes. But one thing is, the most important thing you can do is check all your regulations with state and local people to find out what it takes to have a tournament at whatever ramp you decide to do it. If it's a city, you need to go through the city, the county, and the state to make sure you are lined up. If it's a concert, if it's a Corps of Engineer, you'll have to have a regatta permit. There's a lot of things like that. So my biggest take on tournaments, if you're going to have one in August of next year, you better start getting stuff planned right now, because the dates that are good to have tournaments will be gone the first of the year. They'll all be taken, whether they're online or in-person tournaments does not make any difference. And there's guys that have had tournaments on certain weekends of the year for years and years and years in different places. And just because you get yours in first, they're still going to have them that weekend. And then as soon as some of them that think they're big and they're really not, Ken Freeman, would schedule them right on top of you. He would do that to us invariably because we was having bigger turnouts than he did. And he had Bass Pro behind him. And God rest his soul, but he was a turd to deal with because he didn't care. He thought he was a bigger deal. And even though he was having double and triple the entries that he was having, he would do it just because he could. And that makes it tough. But you got to deal with that. You just do.
So permit is the key thing there, is making sure you have all your proper permits, talking to your city and state and DNR, right?
And if it's Corps engineer ramp, just get a hold of them, tell them you need to set up for regatta permit, and there's a certain time of the year. I'm thinking it's right after the first of the year before you can start putting in for those. But whatever day is the first day you can do it, if you've got your date set, you better be doing it that day, or it'll be gone. But somebody else will be putting a tournament on there probably if it's a decent place to fish.
Very
and
cool.
Pick your dates early. That is correct. Yep. That is correct.
So we got permits, and pick your date early.
Yep.
What else? What else do we need to know?
Making the checklist there in chat. So
that's a really good idea. You need to figure out your entry fees and get your rule package set up. And I highly recommend that you find somebody that knows about rules or has a good set of rules. At one time, I probably wrote rules for 98% of the tournaments in the United States. And they was steadfast and they worked and they still work. But there's some of them that have swayed from that. And, get them rules down. And once you get them set up, the best way to do this, to set up a rule, is get somebody to help you write them that knows what they're doing, and then get them wrote down and stick with them. Have you an advisory board? If I was going to put on a tournament today, I'd get a hold of Mark and James and Chad and Josh, and I'd say, okay, boys, I've got these rules. This is how I want to hold the tournament. I want each one of you to look them over and make amendments and get them back to me so I can check to see if I'm right or you're right, and we'll talk about it, and then and you might do that 4 or 5 times before you get them rules set up the way they need to be. But make it to where they work for the majority of the people. You're not going to make them all happy. I don't care how hard you try, you can't do it. So just make them to where the biggest percentage of your entries are going to be happy with them and call it a day. And I highly recommend only having 2 people to a boat. It's just better. Trust me.
There's a good comment right there. Fishing with Fat said, better have thick skin if you want to be a tournament director.
Oh, that's for sure.
That's the truth.
That's for sure.
That's for online or in person.
It is. One of the worst. What?
Otherwise, you just got to become the tournament dictator.
Yeah.
I saw you.
One of the worst chewings of my life at a tournament one time. I was checking live wells, and Cindy was taking entries, and this guy said, hey, can you come check my live well? And went over to check his live well, and we was standing back, got to talking about something else, and it was a guy I'd known for years. He never would cheat. I knew he wouldn't cheat. Somehow I didn't check his live well. We were standing right beside his boat, and somehow it got missed. We got the BSing, and I walked over, and we started having the captain's meeting, and he stood up in front of everybody and ripped me from one end to the other because I didn't check his live well. I said, well, Danny, do you have something in there I need to look at? He said, no. I said, then why are you making such a deal out of it? He said, because you're supposed to check them all, and you didn't check mine. I said, well, we're going to go do it right now. And we went over and checked it. It was dry. And I said, I can't believe you've done that for all them people. He said, you're supposed to check them.
They kept you honest.
I never
kept you honest.
I never missed a nugget.
Because I mean,
never change the rules after the tournament starts. That's a good.
Once the tournament season starts, if you're having more than one tournament, if you're having a series, you can't change the rules unless it's a safety rule until the end of that season and before the next one starts. And once the rules are set in place and you start taking entries, you cannot change a rule. No rule. Once you start taking entries, them rules are steadfast. You got to stick with them whether right or wrong because you set them up. Never change them for anybody, and never, ever let a sponsor dictate to you how to do anything in a tournament. Ever. Never, ever. It should be a death sentence if you do that. Because they will get it stuck in your ass so deep you get it broke off and you can never pull it back out. I'm just telling you. Sponsors are the greatest thing for tournaments in the world. And you get one that tries to push his way through to get things that he wants done. They're the worst thing that can ever happen to a tournament.
Josh, I think that might be a good point to ask the one question there. We're talking about sponsors and.
Yeah, we had one come in through Messenger there. What about getting money from the city that you picked to have your tournament in? Is that ever a possibility? Or
it is. It's a very good possibility. And one of the greatest places to go to get money is a tourism department in towns, cities, because they're allotted money for that purpose to draw people in. And if you're having a big tournament, say you're drawing 50, 100, 200 boats in, you can shake loose with some pretty good funds because they want them people staying at them motels and eating at them restaurants and buying that gas. All the stuff that you do. A high percentage of the guys now, it's changing. I got this. Men and women fish tournaments together, even women and women fish tournaments together. That's a great thing. But the majority is still men and men fishing tournaments together. Those guys, there's a good chance that they're not going to be fixing food in a motel. There's a good chance that they're going to be buying all their meals out, but they are going to be staying in a motel. They're going to go get their gas. They're going to be in and out. They're going to spend more money than a man and woman or two women because they'll conserve a little bit and fix at least some of the meals in a room or have sandwiches or something. Them guys, they ain't got time for that. You know, they just don't. And how many men actually want to do that when they're fishing? You know, they just want to grab something to eat, grab a sandwich, let's go. We'll get back on that water and get our bait for tomorrow. And, you know, it's a process. So, yeah, they want you to come spend your money. So they'll shake loose a little bit. But there's other places to get it besides the tourism department. The cities, a lot of them have funding for that. Some of the hotel associations have funding for that. Restaurant associations have funding for that. There's a lot of different ones that'll put them up there and make that happen. So
that seems like one that you might even want to talk to the Chamber of Commerce on.
Absolutely. They will head you. If they don't have a fund for it, they will send you in the right direction. Yep. That's what they're for. I got something here I was going to share with you guys. And I can't find it.
Fishing with Fat says King of the James brings in over $200,000 to the local economy in one weekend every year. You're talking tournament comes to town, they're gonna all these businesses stand to benefit from that. And they'll
it's a lot. Now dang it. I dropped it.
Oh dang it. Yeah, I mean, same point. Like Rising Sun Tournament is huge for the city of Rising Sun. It's a small little town, and
it means everything to them.
Well, look at Owensboro with Monsters on the Ohio.
That was
all the people coming in, staying at home. Owensboro is not a very big town.
It's really not. It's a nice town. Look what I got.
Nice town, but it's small.
Nice.
Thank you, Freddie. Appreciate that very much. You and Nina sending those to Cindy and I. we're happy to have those. They'll go right on the boat probably tomorrow as soon as I get done putting a new battery in it. That was awesome. Get those today. But yeah, there is tons of associations. Here's something else that is big to tournament guys. If you go to 4 or 5 restaurants and get them to discount a meal or two, they will a lot of times do that to get them guys in there. Say you're having 100 boat tournament, just as a figure. If 50% of them show up on a Friday night and they spend $15 a head, that's a lot of dough for that restaurant. Mm-hmm. And chances are, if there's any kind of discount that amounts to anything, now 5%, even 10% might not sway them. 15, 20%,
yeah,
drag in a bunch of people, and you'll overcome that if they sell booze because people will be buying drinks, and there's no discount on drinks.
Yeah, you can start looking at hotels. A lot of them will do a block rate for rooms and everything else. Because
we always try to set block.
Hotel doesn't, no matter what you're doing, a hotel does not want empty rooms.
No, they don't.
They would rather get something for a room than have it sit empty. So
our problem always was we would fill up the blocks and they wouldn't have any extra rooms for us. That they wouldn't give us a big enough block because so well, how many people do you expect to stay there? We ain't got no idea. We're talking 6-8 months before it even happens. We don't know if anybody show up. We'll give you 40 rooms. Well, in 3 weeks, them 40 rooms are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And you still got all these other people wanting to enter and no place to stay. And they all want to stay together because they don't want to miss that bullshit session out in the parking lot every night.
Yes.
Nobody wants to miss that. That's the most fun at a tournament other than having dinner together with everybody. It just is. Jeff Beal says he got his stickers today, too. That's awesome.
Hey, Lyle, I seen a question earlier. So do you need to have any kind of insurance when running a tournament like this?
Yes, you do. You do. And the last year that we done it, it was $1,800 a year for liability insurance. That was a $2 million liability policy. But that was for 18 tournaments that year. You can get it cheaper than that. You can pay more than that, and you can get it on some different amounts, and it ends up being less money. But only a fool will have one and not have insurance.
Well, can't you just put it into your rules that they sign that says at the bottom of it, fish at your own risk? We are
you
not
better
liable.
do that.
You better have that on there anyway.
You better have that regardless. I have a clause written up by an attorney that we put in that made everybody sign. But if somebody gets hurt, it ain't worth the paper it's written on because they're going to come after you regardless. So you got to have insurance.
And at least around here, like up at Wren Lake, if you're using any of the Corps of Engineers ramp, they require it. If you're going to book a tournament and use a Corps Engineers ramp, you have to have it. They will tell you exactly the dollar amount that you have to have for that tournament.
$2 million. Unless they've changed it.
I don't know what it is, but
it used to be $2 million. Yeah. And that goes along with the regatta permit. They won't give you that unless you got the insurance policy. Yep. That's one of the things that makes online tournaments a little bit more inviting because they don't know if you're in a tournament or not.
Yep.
There ain't 900 boats lined up there to get in.
And that's just, for anybody jumping in with us tonight, we're talking about traditional in-person tournaments tonight.
Right.
How to be I wouldn't mind doing a show, how to do a YouTube tournament sometime in the very near future, but tonight we're focusing on the in-person tournaments. So,
yeah.
Now, if you start getting, you're going to have a big tournament, Lyle, like Monsters on the Ohio was. Aaron Wheatley always had his logistics planned out. Great. Aaron really got that together. Had a lot of people there. I don't, whether they be volunteers or hiring people, but you had people help get the boats launched, get the trucks parked, everything. Is that something that most people would want to look into if they're going to do one?
And Aaron run in my mind, and I'm sure I'll have people say, no, that's not true. Aaron run one of the cleanest, strictest, most efficient tournaments that I was ever involved in, and I've been in all of the United States, except out east. I never went out east. But Aaron done a fantastic job at before daylight, when everybody else was still getting out of bed to get in line to enter. Aaron Wheatley was up on top of a step ladder as you drove by, looking in your live well to make sure you didn't have something in there you wasn't supposed to have. Not that anybody would, but you got to check them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he done it. You pulled through the line, and he checked them on a ladder himself. It's just, man, that was a great event. They had volunteers for everything, including backing you into the water and helping you get out. At that time, Cindy can back a truck and trailer into the water, no problem. The problem is when you get 6 or 8 guys backing in at the same time, makes her nervous. So they had a guy there that would back our boat in for her and then pull it up. Of course, we have handicap sticker because of her knees, and they would park it. She'd come down, get in the boat, and we'd go sit out in the middle of the river until launch time. And if we get done and come in and we go through the weigh-in line, if we need somebody to back that boat in for her, there was always somebody there. Doc Lang backed it in for a time or two. Somebody else backed it in for. And one time there was some guys there that was working for Aaron, volunteers now. Can we help you? And she said, can you back a trailer? He said, I sure can. He jumped in my truck, backed it in. I loaded the boat, we was out.
Yep, that happened when we fish monsters on the Ohio. Christina can back the boat trailer up.
I was ever around.
You know, she can back the trailer, but again, you're looking 5 and 6 wide on that ramp.
Yep.
You know, they're using up every square inch of real estate on that ramp,
and they have to. You do 200 boats plus.
You know, the guy jumped in, he backed me off into the water and pulled the truck up there and parked it, and you know, they were parking all those things inches apart, but they knew what they were doing, and they knew how to get the most out of their parking areas.
That was one of my favorite tournaments to fish every year, and it wasn't that we was so successful down there because, you know, we catch fish, but it's just hard to fish that pool. So in the end, we was going out of that pool to find fish. And I never will forget the first year we fished that. In 30 minutes, we had our limit of fish the very first year we fished it. But it was all short fish. It wasn't big enough for nothing, and we couldn't find bigger fish later on the day. So later on, when we was fishing that tournament, we would leave that pool and go to a different pool where we could find bigger fish because it's just fished so hard. And a week before that tournament, every day, there's 200 boats in the water, and they're just beating that water to death, you know. So you gotta do some traveling to do good.
And that, you know, you mentioned leaving that pool. That made me think of that. That's something that really should be defined in the rules. If you're going to be fishing a river, you know, are you going to allow people to lock through, or are you not going to allow people to lock through and go into a different pool? Because those tournament boundaries absolutely need to be in the tournament rules when you're.
Yeah, they do. And on when we run tournaments, most of ours was run on the Mississippi and Missouri River. I highly would recommend having a restriction because never, ever allow trailering.
Yep, I was getting
never allow trailering. You're just asking for trouble. But everybody leave from the same ramp. I don't care how far you go, but if you're going to have restrictions, make it clear and concise that you can go one pool either direction of the launch site or 2 pools. Because we had tournaments in Louisiana and Clarksville, and people would boat by water all the way downtown St. Louis. They'd fish for 2 or 3 hours and beat ass as hard as they go, all the way back up through there because they figured they could catch 2 or 3 40s at least and a couple of little ones where they didn't know if they could catch that up there in those upper pools.
Yeah. Well, I told you Rising Sun a few years ago. I think it was Dale Kern that locked through and went all the way to Louisville and got his winning fish.
Oh, wow.
All the way back. Yeah.
There's some people make long runs during those tournaments.
Oh, yeah. we've run an hour plus one way before. Our boat holds 36 gallon, and when I filled it up, it'd hold 33, 34. We'd run that much gas on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Lori, it depends on your policy and who the underwriter is. That's something you would have to check out. Ours was strictly liability to protect us from something happening and being sued. But Corps of Engineers, they'll tell you what kind of policy you got to have, and you just take that to your insurance agent. And if they can't do it, they'll recommend you somebody that can find you the policy.
Laura's comment kind of made me think about that. That's something that you would definitely want to check with if you're using a municipal boat ramp.
Absolutely.
And they've got a courtesy dock. Check with that city on, hey, if Joe Blow comes through here and wipes the dock out, are you guys going to go after me or are you going to go after him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going after me, my insurance is going to cover it. Whether I have to or not, I'm going to make sure I have insurance to cover that.
Yeah, and that's why I say if you're going to have one August of next year, you better be in the process of all that stuff like that right now, because come January, business picks up at the first year. For every tournament director there is, you'll get calls nearly every day from that point on.
What I'm kind of gathering here is if you don't have the patience to deal with paperwork and government bureaucracy, tournament director probably isn't for you. Is that
That's
right?
probably right. That's probably right.
I mean, I hate to say it, but
that's a fact.
You're going to go through red tape anytime you get the government involved.
Yeah, it is, and it's gotten worse. But they're trying to protect themselves, but you got to take care of you and your interests, people that enter your tournament. You got to take care of them because you want them to come back. You want to have a good experience while they're there, and so yeah, you want to do the best that you can, and at least break even.
Now, what all kind of equipment would somebody need to make sure they had?
The number one thing that you have to have is certified scales, and that means legal for tender. Stuff like meat scales, they are legal for tender. They have to be certified by the Agriculture Department once every year. And just a simple postal scales, they won't certify them. The ones you hold in your hand like this, they won't certify them either. They're not legal for trade. The legal for trade scales will cost you about $800. But they are good quality. They'll last you forever, and they're repairable. Those ones that you buy online for postal stuff that are $35, $40, you don't repair those. If they go bad, you just buy another pair. And we used them before we knew the difference. That's what we use. And then some guy said, "Hey, they aren't legal scales." That's what you mean. So they're not approved.
Yeah, certified.
And I got to check it. They wasn't certifiable. You couldn't get them checked. And I called the lady that done it, and she said, "This is what you got to have for that, and I'll be happy to come by every year, put a sticker on them if they'll pass." And she did every year from then on out. And we had handheld scales and postal scales. Just in case something happened, we'd have a backup plan. And they was dead nuts on to the same as them. We'd never check them when she was there. They was always just as good. You just couldn't make them.
She couldn't certify them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the big deals when we got down. You guys probably seen the video that I turned Chad onto, and he made a short out of the other day, weighing that 112-pound blue cat down in Memphis.
112.91.
Okay. The scales there were certified.
Yep.
They were certified in Minnesota. Or Montana, excuse me, Montana. They had just been certified. They was legal for trade scales, but not in the state of Tennessee. Now, it took them 4.5 or 5 hours to get down there and get that fish out of the live well. from the time we weighed it, which it was in there for 2 hours before we weighed it. So that fish could have possibly weighed 115 or 16 pounds. When they got it out of there and got it to Bass Pro and weighed it on their scales, 6 or 8 hours later, it only weighed 106 or 108. They lose weight from stress and being handled, and fish like that's got eaten nearly all the time. I mean, that's a huge freaking fish. But yeah, that fish, and nobody had any idea that they was going to be weighing a fish that big, and they give us an old plastic tub to weigh that damn thing in. How accurate that was, nobody knows, but it weighed at least 112. It could have weighed more, but we done the best they have what they give us. I mean, that is what MRM give us to use. That's all we could do. Yeah. And it wasn't a tournament fish. That was pre-fishing 2 days before the tournament. When he caught that.
And that kind of made me think of something. You said, have a scale that's certified legal for trade, but you're also going to need to have a plastic bin or something you put those fish in.
Aluminum.
That's going to be able to
have somebody
hold the anticipated size of fish. So
yeah, if you're fishing for 20-pound channel cat, you don't have to have a great big one. 36-inch. Well, they'll bend a little bit. You put the 38 or 40-inch fish in there without any problem in a 36-inch tote. But it needs to be made out of aluminum. That's light enough you can tear your scales, and it's rigid enough that it will do it. And anybody that can bend and weld can make you one, and have handles put in it so 2 people can grab it. If you're fishing the Mississippi, the Missouri, Kerr Lake, any place like that that's got over 100-pound fish, that any time you go out, there's a chance that somebody can bring in a 90 or 100, then you have a tote big enough to carry them in that won't bend, and they'll set on. Them scale tops are about 12 or 14 inches square, and you got to be able to set them on there and level them up and drop that fish in there gently and weigh it. And have somebody build you one and be done with it. And get you some great big feed totes that you get at a farm supply place to carry them in with rope handles, and get the biggest one they got. Because I'm telling you, a 60 or 80-pound blue cat, get the flopping in one of them, and he's out before you know it.
Yeah, I've seen people carry the rubber and plastic totes with big fish in them, and they just crumbling.
They're a joke. They're a joke.
And what about, like, if you're going to have a larger tournament, you're going to end up needing some PA equipment. Is that something you would buy, or is that something you want to look into renting from?
We had our own, and I would, if you're going to be doing it for an extended period of time, I would highly recommend that you have your own. We started out without any. When we first started out, we didn't know what we was doing. We was trying to get things lined out. The only thing we knew is we could do better than the guy was doing it for us. But anybody could have done better than they was doing. And we just started picking up stuff as we went. Cindy and I funded that whole thing for 10 years. We didn't try to make money on it. It was never about making money. It was trying to put on a quality tournament that people would enjoy fishing and come back to. We didn't make money off of it. It was, like I say, it wasn't about that. Yeah, slings would be a good thing. When we was doing them, we didn't really. Slings was just coming into play then. But if I was going to do it all over again, I would have a weigh trailer, and it would have a pull-out deal where all the fish was set up on there, and you walk up there and you weighed your fish there. It'd be a platform for the participants to set up there if they had the big fish, and that's what that trailer would be used for, that and to do shows out, like Catfish Weekly shows, remote shows out at MRM or somewhere like that. That's all that trailer would be used for. In fact, I was going to build one. I never got the invitation to go back to Catfish Conference, so I never built one.
Now, I was, I haven't seen this as much at catfish tournaments, but you do see it at bass tournaments. a certified one, or at least one universal measuring board, a bump board, or whatever. This is going to be the official one for the tournament?
That's right. And we had one, and I forgot the company. It's in my boat still, and I encourage people to check theirs against that one, because that was the one that was going to determine if you had over or under fish. And that's become a big deal, like at Lake Ozark, Truman, and all their tributaries. You have overs, unders, and slop fish. And I've seen a lot of guys that you would never believe would ever get disqualified at a tournament, get disqualified because they thought they could look at fish and judge them, and was wrong. You got to check every fish. And a tournament director, the biggest thing I see wrong with them kind of tournaments is these tournament directors pick their favorites, and some of them they measure their fish and some of them they don't. And that guy should not be allowed to have tournaments ever.
It only takes about a 1/16 of an inch.
It don't take much.
It don't take
on the board.
No. That was one of the things when I was building my tournament live well out of a aluminum toolbox. I bought a 4-foot ruler. It's down to the 16th of an inch. It was cheap.
Yeah, they're not.
It is made of aluminum. I drilled holes in it and I riveted it right to the top of that thing.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the one that I had, but I do have one that I used to give away. The guy quit making these. They used to make them for us.
Oh, wow. I'd like to have one of those.
Yeah, me too.
I've only got one left, boys. I'm sorry.
Well, just leave it to your favorite
son. So I'll
leave it to your favorite son. That way I know I get it.
We would get them in stacks like this, and I'd give them away on the show.
Dang it, man.
Yeah. And if I could find somebody to do that again, I would probably do that again. Just because.
Who gave you the measurements for that?
Hang on.
Well, I'm just wondering because if you were the one giving them the measurements, you say you're 6 foot tall.
ShadShack.com.
ShadShack.com.
Yeah, he used to make live wells and stuff. He'd give us live wells to give away. I don't know how many of them we give away, several. And he went out of business before I got mine.
Maurice Kaysen said he has one.
He probably does. He probably does.
What about, as far as tournament prep and everything, what about looking into having a licensed bait dealer there for people to buy bait? Is that something you would worry about, or is that something, or is everybody on their own for bait?
Well, I've seen tournaments have live bait dealers there, and always a big deal about it because, again, a lot of those guys will pick their favorites. I had my order in one time, the second person in line. So I knew there was only one guy ahead of me. I knew I was going to get my bait. We get to this tournament. This was January. I put my order in for a tournament in July. I was the second one. We get down there. They didn't have any bait for me, but another guy come in that got in line the week before, and he got bait. And I was furious over that. He's a friend of yours, Josh. But, I was upset about that because they promised me bait, and I didn't even try to find it.
Wow.
And we was at Memphis that year. They was selling skipjack $11 a piece inside the store. And I said, I'll do without. And we used old frozen skipjack that I brought from house. Because What's that, buddy?
I told Chad, I said, Lyle's trying not to tell us he used chicken that day.
No, he did not. He used skipjack. I'm telling you, boys. I'm not telling you I never have used chicken. And I never caught anything bigger than my hand, and it just don't work here. I mean, it may work for some people. It don't work in these. We got smart fish over here in Missouri. They're smarter than that.
Now, would it be worth it to go through the trouble of having a recovery tank?
Absolutely. Brad Kilpatrick, who's passed away now from cancer, God rest his soul, used to run Kansas City Catfish. Now, I didn't agree with everything Brad did, but he had a big deal from that he got from the fire department. It was like 10 or 12 feet by 10 or 12 feet and 3 or 4 feet high. And you filled that up with water. They had a big pump, usually pump it out of the river or something. And it had aeration and oxygen going in it all the time. And that's where the fish went by the end of the tournament when everybody was gone and they was taking wheelbarrows and wheelbarrowing them fish back to the river and dumping them in. They was more lively when they put them in there because that's the best way I've ever seen of taking care of them. Other people have them setups. Everybody should have. One of the biggest things that I see wrong with guys, and I know the Sea Arc tournament used to do it, is having a slide and running them fish down that hot slide and letting them bounce out in that water. People don't understand, and I've preached this to a lot of these guys that do videos. They throw them fish in the water. That's the stupidest thing you could possibly do. Them fish have no idea what that is that's jarring them when they hit that water, belly flopping them in there. They've never had them feelings before. They don't know what that's all about. You give that fish the respect it deserves. If it lets you catch it, you set it in the water gently and let it swim away. Make sure it's revived. Don't toss them in there and slide them down the slide, and they have little catches on them. A lot of them be bleeding when they hit the water and stuff. That ain't the way you treat a fish that's possibly win you a pile of money.
That's definitely got, that's something that has to be looked into. Is reducing. You'll never eliminate fish mortality so long as a fish rides in a live well, comes up and gets weighed, and he spent all day in the live well of a boat. Chad just freaked out because he about spilled his bacon.
Yeah, he about spilled his bacon. The one of the things.
All right, Chad.
You guys worried? I mean, freaked me out, and I about knocked my bacon off the table. And Maurice Kaysen just sent me a picture. He says, "Oh man."
The thing about these well, that's cool.
Well, oh wait, he did say that he's going to give that to me because I'm his best friend.
Oh wow! There is catfish that when you grab them, they start spinning.
Hold on.
And of all the years that we fished tournaments and held tournaments, I dropped one fish. And I like to brought myself to tears over that because you're not supposed to drop a fish. You're not supposed to drop a fish. They don't know what it is to hit that ground, especially guys standing in boats. I seen a guy that I would have bet money would never drop a fish. He was standing inside his boat, and it got to spinning on him, and he turned loose of it, and it not only fell the distance to his boat, it fell another 3.5, 4 feet down and hit the ground.
Oh, wow.
Now, it didn't die right then, but you're never going to convince me that fish that it didn't die somewhere in that water pool because it can't take a shot like that. Well, I never thought I would drop one, and the one that I dropped was like 18 pounds. Cindy and I was fishing a tournament down at Caruthersville, and it got to spinning in my hand. It hurt so bad I couldn't hold on to it anymore. And it wasn't very high off the ground, but I still dropped it. And I never thought a fish could get away from me, but that one did. I've held 90, 100-pound fish. Never had one do that. But fish should not be dropped. If you cannot hold on to that fish, put it in a tub or a waist sling or something.
Mm-hmm.
Get it where it needs to be going. And just because you need your picture taken or somebody wants your picture taken, if you're holding it up like this and you drop that fish and it not only falls out of the boat, it falls on the ground from 6 or 8 feet up, in my mind, that's a disqualification. Now, it's never been written in any rule that I ever seen, but that fish is going to die. You basically killed it. So that's something to consider.
Well, I wanted to go back. So sorry, Josh. I saw you get ready to say something.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I've been asking a bunch, so
I haven't got to talk the entire show, but that's okay.
I know it's been a good show because of that.
It's been great. But now that I've been awakened by the lack of or the bacon almost fallen. Now I want to go back. You were talking about the slides and stuff, and the Rising Sun they have them big, huge plastic totes leading up, and they let you move up, and they're all oxygenated, as you go through, and then they have a fire hose from the city of Rising Sun that gives them shoots water down that slide, so it's always water coming up from the river down it.
I don't care. That's wrong.
I'm not asking you if it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you, it's not a dry slide. So they do
I got that.
they do shoot them fish down there. But I tell you what, we was at the Rising Sun tournament the second day and witnessed one of the greatest things. They actually had boats sitting out there, and they had a monster fish around 40, 45 pounds. I think it was one of the bigger ones that they weighed in that day. That was floating. That hit that water and came up floating.
Yeah.
And D recorded the entire thing where the guy pulled that fish out of that water, and they spent over an hour making sure that fish was all right.
That's the thing to do. But see, if it hadn't been put in that slide, it probably wouldn't have done that to start with.
Probably would have.
Here's the thing. You got it in your live well, and you made it into that weigh-in, and that fish is in good shape. Why not put it back in that live well, take it to the river, and dump it out gently into the water, and not worry about that other nonsense? That's not supposed to be a drawing card. See what I'm saying? They're using that a lot of times for a drawing card for kids to go out there and see these fish slide down a slide, because they think he gets attention of not only kids but adults and everything else. But they're not considering the health of the fish. I know Steve Hannon. I think the world of him. He's a great guy. Yeah. But I don't care who's over a tournament that does that. It's wrong to do it. Because there's a certain percentage of them that ain't going to make it. They just ain't. But there's no law says you can't do it.
Nope.
That's the thing.
Yep.
But I would never do that. But like I say, these guys in these boats that's in these tournaments, they have the greatest setup for oxygen and oxygenated water and big live wells, big enough to hold 200-pound fish at a time. A lot of them will hold 200-pound fish at a time. And most of them will hold 150, 160 pounds easy. You're talking about 80, 100, 120-pound live wells with oxygen systems on them. Mm-hmm. If you get that to the weigh-in and them fish are all doing great, why in the hell wouldn't you put it right back in there, back the boat in the water, and slide them off the side and know they're going to be okay? That just makes too much sense to me.
Okay.
Your turn, Josh.
No, I had a question. We've been discussing towards the weigh-in and everything, the end of the tournament, and I'm kind of jumping back to the beginning. One of my favorite things about tournaments, one of my favorite parts of the tournament is the part that my wife, I know she hates the most, and that's the blast off there at the beginning of the tournament.
Oh yeah,
the choppy water, she hates it. I love it. What would you think would be the best practice as far as taking off? Do you take off in flights? Do you want to take off in in an order, or just blow the whistle and let everybody gun it?
It depends on the number of boats in the tournament. If you've got 15, 20 boats, even 30, line them up across that river, shoot a shotgun up in the air, and let the big dogs eat. Now, if you got 100 boats in a tournament, you better be going flights of 5 or 10 at a time. And the correct way to do that, in my mind, is the early entries get to leave first.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to go first, it ain't none of this. We used to draw. We've drawn for them. And one guy will get out first every time. I mean, invariably, he'll get his number pulled in the top flight out. But if it goes by entry fees, there's several things that contribute to that. Number one, people will get in there and you know how many people is going to be there. If you're putting on a captain's meeting someplace where they're going to eat, the first thing they ask you is how many people are going to be there so they know how much food to prepare. Well, if you get them entries in early, you can say right now we've got 30 boats entered, or right now we've got 130 boats entered, and there's going to be at least 2 people to a boat. So that'll give them an idea how much food they need to prepare for. Because normally people will wait till the last minute and you don't have any idea. And you either will have way too much food at a dinner like that for a captain's meeting or not enough, one or the other. And there's nothing worse than that on the people preparing the food, because if they're making you a dinner, you want to be able to go back next year and have that tournament again if it was a success, and have those guys fix a meal for you again. Because most of the time they're going to charge you, but the people just pay for their own, and most of the time it's $5 or $6, $8 a plate instead of 15 or 30 at a restaurant. And VFW halls and places like that, they're happy to do that, and they get to make a couple of bucks, and they usually have a big enough facility to hold everyone.
Freddie's got a question. He said, what about a 200-plus boat turning like the Ice Bowl? What's wrong with allowing trailering? It's safer than a shotgun or staggered
It's
start.
not. There's no difference in that. The difference is you're opening up and allowing people the opportunity to cheat. Not that anybody would, but the opportunity is there because you can't control what you can't see. Trailering is the hardest thing on fish. People will wait till the last minute to load their boat, and then they'll go an hour wide open, 80 mile an hour down a rough ass road with that boat bouncing like this, just beating the hell out of the fish. Then they wonder why they die when they put them back in the water. Trailering should never be allowed in a tournament, ever. That's the worst thing you can do to fish.
And dead fish at weigh-ins.
No dead fish.
Auto DQ.
No dead fish.
That's all. Well, you just can't weigh that fish because the fish died most of the time being trailered back. So you just can't weigh that fish. So if you thought you was going to win, chances are you won't even be in the money.
No, I mean, if they try to weigh in a dead fish, I think it should be a DQ.
Oh, yeah, you can't weigh
that. Time it is.
Yeah,
you can't weigh dead fish.
And I've seen different rules. I've seen them where, it's a 1 pound penalty for dead fish. That's typical bass tournament rule. 1 pound penalty for dead fish.
You can't weigh dead fish in a catfish tournament.
I don't.
If I'm setting one, but again, that goes back to when you're setting your rules. If you don't want that,
you got to be there.
Whatever you put in the rules.
Here's one that sticks in my mind. And old Ken Freeman used to tell you cannot have dead fish in your live well. But he would tell you to have an extra one in your front live well in case you ended up losing, that you could just swap them out. Like I said, that guy should never have been allowed to have tournaments. He told everybody that entered his tournaments to do that because you can't weigh a dead fish. But if you have a live one in the front live well, that you're only allowed 5, but if the 6th one's up there, you just change them out because nobody's going to look in your front live well. What the hell kind of deal is that? How is he able to do that all them years? There's a lot of difference, Freddie. A lot of difference. Because they're in a live well with oxygen and stuff, and chances are that ain't going to work going down the road.
You're not cycling water on the road.
And I
kind of look at that as far as the trailering thing too. I can't stop my boat on a dime.
No.
But I could slam on the brakes in traffic and send everything sloshing in that live well and send a fish slamming into the side of the live well.
That's fact. Trailering is the hardest thing on fish in tournaments, period.
Yep.
Just the hardest thing that you can do.
Yep. Cindy says Monsters on the Ohio had 200 boats within 5 minutes. Everybody had taken off, and that's
Rising Sun the same way.
Again, that was Monsters on the Ohio. I go back to that one. That's our one big tournament that we have fished.
Yeah.
And
we had them time the takeoff started 30 minutes. They was all launched and ready to go, and no issues. And I can't ever remember seeing the dead fish at Monsters on the Ohio.
Mm-mm.
And I went to a lot of them. Never seen a dead fish, and they didn't allow no trailering. I can't think of a trailering event that I was ever at that I didn't see dead fish. Cindy said they did allow trailering once, but only once, and that's correct. They did allow it one time, and they had issues, and that was the end of it. If you're
one I
around,
never got to fish.
Yeah.
if you're around tournaments, you'll understand. If you see what I've seen, you'll understand why trailering should never be allowed.
Richard Fishing Freedom, member, 19 months.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Richard. Richard and Stephanie had an awesome day Saturday.
Yes, it was a great day. It was good to watch them.
That they did.
They had a great day. Fun to watch. Anybody
weekend number 2 coming up.
Has anybody seen Jerry Parker's latest video?
The turtle?
The turtle video?
I got the notification.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not grabbing hold of that turtle's neck. It's never going to happen.
I haven't watched it. I know what I did once to do it, and it ain't going to make me a lot of friends. But
my only comment that I could think of was man amongst men right there.
That's right. Yeah.
All I can say is have a sharp knife and hold the thing up in the air, and you'll get your hook back. So.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to do that. I'll cut the line. It'll rust out eventually. They can have the hook. I don't.
Depends on the turtle. If it's snapping turtle, he's going home with me anyway. So
I'm just not grabbing a turtleneck.
Oh, those are too good. Those are too good eating.
They say them soft shells are good eating, but I've never eaten them.
I've never eaten a soft shell.
I've never eaten a soft shell, but boy, snapping turtle's good.
Snappers.
They are good. Do we have a video tonight, Josh?
We do. Let me get this queued up here. If anybody has any questions, and get those in chat while I'm queuing that up, and then we'll finish up with answering any questions. But we got a couple entries on the braaid board, some nice fish. So let's take a look.
Danny still remembers.
Howdy, folks. It's time once again to take a look at the Catfish Weekly bragging board. This one covers the week of September 18th, 2023. First up, we have Miss Laura from Laura the Explorer with a 26-pound blue cat caught at the dock at Lake Gaston, Virginia. Congratulations, Laura. That's a great fish. Up next, Austin Fishing Fever with a 50-pound blue cat caught September 16th. This is a birthday fish. That looks like a good birthday fish to me. Congratulations, Austin, and happy birthday. Don't forget, guys, you too can be featured on the Catfish Weekly bragging board. To be eligible, the fish needs to have been caught within the past 14 days, and we accept pictures of any species of fish. Get yourself or a friend on the bragging board. All you need to do is email your fish photo to pics@theweekendangler.com. Send us the information shown on your screen, and we'll get it on the board for you. Thank you all for watching. Have a great week.
Well done, Josh. Well done.
Great fish. Happy birthday there, Austin. That's a heck of a way to celebrate a birthday, that's for sure.
Those are some nice fish.
One of the things in tournament things that I want to touch on right quick, back when gas got $4 or $5 a gallon here years ago, we started allowing 3 people to the boat so people could save money, and it caught on. That was the biggest mistake I ever made in doing tournaments. A tournament team should be 2 people. We used to allow one person under 15 or over 65 in the boat with a 2-man team. A 2-man team is all it should ever be. Me starting that stuff with 3 guys has escalated, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made in running catfish tournaments.
Goodness.
I don't know if anybody's got any more questions or not. I've enjoyed this show. I hope people got some value out of it.
I think it was a good episode.
I think it turned out good, and I don't think we'd be a bad idea to sometime in the near future do one on doing the online tournaments as well, because we do have the originator of the online Catfish Tournament sitting right above me over here.
And they different. They are definitely a little bit different.
They are different. And I still think, and I know there's going to be guys that debate this, if sponsors get behind these online tournaments, I think that the online tournaments could possibly damage the in-person tournaments. I really do, because you're competing with people all over the United States on their water.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mano.
That takes a different set of thinking on how you're going to do things, because
everybody's fishing their home. Everybody's fishing their best water.
You know, the problem is, you know, just like we talked about the other day, Cindy and I had to fish that panfish tournament where we couldn't catch fish. We can't. The place that we can catch bunches, no signal. No signal.
Yeah.
No signal.
Yeah.
If we could get into them places, be a different situation. But you can fish it, but nobody's going to see it. And that's not how it works. So,
well, that was my goal all along, is to get better cell phone service on the rivers. That's why I came up with this idea, so that maybe these cell phone companies will put more towers up.
Is that why you got XYZ phone service?
That's right.
Wow.
I did enjoy it tonight, fellas. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the show. We got Wednesday night. Mark and I will be on Panfish Nation at 7:00, and Chad and Freddie and Brian will be on Thursday night with the bait shop, and we'll be back here next Monday night. Josh, you got anything going on this week?
Nothing planned at the moment. It's going to be a very busy week, so we may try to slip away at some point. But
don't forget the couples tournament for Saturday and Sunday this week. It should be a lot of fun. Excited about that. Hope it's not raining again. We got to
be sure when we finish up, go over to Catfish and Crappie. Mark's got Troy from Real and Virtual Outdoors on his show tonight. It's definitely going to be a good show.
It should be a great show. They'll have
really good because of Troy.
Did you say something derogatory about your brother?
No, I just said it'll be a really great show, but only because of Troy.
Oh,
okay. Well,
that's what I thought. All righty, guys. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you next week on Catfish Weekly.
Yep. Have a great week, everybody.
Take care.